Hi everyone, it's Desiree, and I'm here with Pink and Maine and their January 2020 Crafty Courtyard subscription box. This month's theme is called Love is in the Air. So, of course, we're going to see lots of hearts, we're going to see the word love, and there is a lot within this kit. So let's take a look what is exactly inside. So, of course, you get your card, and that'll tell you the theme and show you the colors, scheme, and everything else, and it'll list all the items into the box. Well, that was a lot to get out there. So you will get 2 pieces of white, theater, lakeside, yellow brick road, wildflowers, mom's geraniums, and evening clouds. They are the names of all of that beautiful cardstock. You get your pin, and I just enjoy putting them up on my cork board. And then, of course, you get your 6x6 full paper pad. One of the things that I love about Pink and Maine's paper pads, they're challenging to me because of the color schemes that are going on in there. They are always so bright, so unique. It's just a different color scheme, and I really do enjoy them. For envelopes, you will get a pack of ribbons, 1 yard each, some enamel hearts and dots, some chipboard pieces, a sequin pack, a beautiful stencil with 3 different types of images, hearts, stars, and dots, which can be snow. You get this die, so you get the background cloud and love, which matches that stamp, love. The tree with the hearts that layers over each other is absolutely adorable. And you also get a thank you with some beautiful heart chipboard pieces that I'm throwing around there, and you get the glossy gold hearts as well. And again, that is to say thank you for those of you that are subscribers to the kit. So let's get started with card number 1. So I had to dig in and use that beautiful tree. It very much intrigued me. So with that, I pulled out my Gina K inks, and I'm going to be using charcoal brown for the branches, and then 3 different shades for the hearts. I'm going to use my stamp positioner, and I'm going to prep my stamp by using my microfiber cloth so that it will take the ink in a more solid. It won't be as splotchy. Now, the beauty of the Gina K inks, they do level out as they dry, and remember, with these inks, they do dry back, so they get slightly lighter. You can see just by turning this, these hearts fit beautifully around those branches. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to prep that stamp as well, and I'm starting out with Innocent Pink by Gina K, and then I'm going to come in with Lipstick, which is a beautiful red, but mixed with this pink, it just gets a softer tone. I'm going to put that towards the center, and then I'm going to choose another shade of pink that goes around it, and that shade of pink escapes me. Oh my. But again, it is from Gina K. So I'm just going to create that depth in the center, and then I'm going to get lighter as I go out. And I'm using a finger dauber to do that. Okay, I'm going to clean up my area here just a little bit because, again, we've got to have some room, and I'm going to clean my stamp. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to take a piece of vellum. This is where I was thinking. I wasn't quite sure how, because I really just liked it just like that. I took a piece of vellum, put that in my stamp positioner, and I'm using the charcoal brown and stamping that on the vellum as well. Now, when you stamp on vellum with like a dye ink, it kind of pulls up just a little bit, but I kind of liked that look. To stop that, because it won't dry on vellum, I'm going to use my clear embossing powder and heat set that. So now I've just set the ink onto the piece of vellum. I've cut that out using what I call the cloud background die, and I'm going to use that cloud die again on the dark pink cardstock. called Mom's Geranium, and I'm going to offset this vellum on top of that. I put glue just behind where I stamped so you won't see that through the vellum. That is going to go across the bottom of this piece. We are going to use some double-sided foam squares to prop that up. I pulled in a couple of my Prismacolor alcohol markers just to provide some grass so that the tree is not floating in the air. But then I realized, okay, with that love dye that I've got going across there, I'm covering up the grass. And I didn't want to cover that up, but we figured that out. So I'm going to do my layering, and you will see that tape runner go away. Me and the tape runner just were not getting along, nor do we ever. We do not ever get along. So it's kind of funny. I'm going to remove the release paper from the sentiment, and I'm going to set that just below, and it is going to come across or come just below my card base, and I will trim that off. That's not a problem, but I can at least see some of the grass. For our next card, I'm going to play with the chipboard pieces. So with any kit that I show, I like to use only the contents that are in the kit. I only like to pull in, you know, of course, my inks, my adhesives, and maybe some other cardstocks for mats and so forth. So playing with these chipboard pieces was fun. You can create a wonderful background by just using these and these alone. So that's the beauty of that. I'm going to use my liquid adhesive, and I'm also going to use my double-sided foam squares. So just using these pieces alone, you're already getting dimension off of your piece. But I like to add more. So it's okay that I'm using that double-sided foam squares. I'm just adding a smaller amount of dimension to those. I wanted to pull in some of the solid cardstock as well, just to give it another matte layer. You have all of this white, and even though you're adding these chipboards, there's not a lot there. Now, I could have stamped some of the hearts that they actually have in the stamp set behind those as well. Would have been really sharp in like a gray to give that, you know, feel in the background. But I did just want to stick with the chipboard pieces. This is where I'm fighting with the tape runner, and that's about the time where it did end up in my trash can. Sorry. Yes. I'm down to a very few tape runners now, because oh no, it came back. No, it hadn't ended up in there. It does end up in my trash can. I'm sorry, everyone. I have only a few left, and I doubt that I will pull any of them in. My favorite tape runner is my ATG gun. It has never failed me. It doesn't break. It doesn't bind up. It doesn't stop working. Problem is, it's just really big. And the way that I have my setup, it would hit my setup. So I don't want to, I can't use that, or else I'll be poking your eyeballs out in my video. So that's the reason why I don't pull it in. And I know somebody will ask, I always get this question. I get my refills for my ATG gun from the Tape Jungle. I really like it. It's at a great price. And I think it's strong. It's very strong adhesive. So, okay, back to the card. So you can see between the liquid adhesive and the foam squares, I'm adding that dimension. I'm setting them at different angles, putting them on there different ways. And because I have those matte layers, it's helping all of those colors to pop out and pop off of the page. Again, this panel will be set on my standard A2 size card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And it will be a top folding card. I am going to add some of the gold mirrored hearts just to add a little bit of shine onto this. Now, what's nice with those chipboard, they do have a shiny coat to them also. For the next card, I wanted to play with the papers and the ribbons. So I'm going to take a strip of the pattern paper, set it upon the solid piece of cardstock, use my liquid adhesive, and then pull in my scissors and cut along this so that it has just a slight border of the teal color around the yellow. Now, what's great with the panel that's up that I'm using here, they have those lines. I'm guaranteed to be straight. Doesn't mean I will be, but I've got a better guarantee on it. It is one of the reasons why I do make sure that I use a grid mat when I do my work. I can use that as a quick reference. Pulling in a ruler for me, and yeah, it don't work. It just, too many steps. Sometimes I will, sometimes I won't. It depends upon where I'm going, what project it is, and so forth. I trim off those corners, and now I'm going to pull in those ribbons. Now, for each of the ribbons, you actually get 1 yard. So for this, you're getting 5 yards. The other idea that I love when it comes to this kit is everything matches. Everything. So those ribbons, that ribbon with the heart matches the Lakeside solid cardstock, which is also a color that's in the pattern paper. When it comes to the dark blue ribbon that's here, that matches theater. Again, that matches the dark blue cardstock, which is also an element into the pattern paper. So everything matches, whether it's in a piece of embellishment or the papers. It's all inclusive. But there's different patterns with it. It's not, while it's got a matchy-matchy feel to it, it's not completely. You've got the different textures, the different dimensions, and the different patterns that go through it. So it's kind of cool. It's very cool. It's not kind of cool. It's very cool. So you can see I'm taking these ribbons, I'm matching them up in the lines, and I'm using my art glitter glue to glue these down. I will use my fabric scissors, because these are ribbons, to trim these up alongside of the panel. Once that's done, I will also use the Love die cut sentiment, and I will die cut that from white cardstock 3 times so that I can get a more dimensional sentiment that's going to go across the yellow strip. I was sitting there thinking, I wasn't sure if I was going to use the cloud background or not. Obviously, I didn't. Once these are layered, I will also use my glue to adhere that down onto that strip. Now, one of the things that I forgot was the L, of course, is extending off of this strip that is raised with double-sided foam tape. And that double-sided foam tape that I'm using is by scrapbook.com. It is their new roll of double-sided foam tape. I'm really liking it. The release paper is awesome. The test will be a shaker. Haven't done that yet. Anyway, so that L is extended off. Now, you could leave that alone, but in case this does go in the mail, I grabbed one of the mirrored hearts. It was the perfect height. I set that down below, I added a little bit of glue, and I used my scissors as a weight, just to hold that down until that dries. And it worked beautifully. Yay! So, that's our card. So, this one, colossal error. Wait till you see. This is awesome. So, I'm being very careful. I'm covering up the star section because I only want the hearts. I'm being careful to make sure that I am being intentional when I set my piece of cardstock down to where these hearts are going to be. I grab my painter's tape to make sure that the cardstock is adhered to the stencil. I'm going to use the pink. I was going to use the pinks for the hearts. I wanted to use those ink colors for the chipboard pieces, the wood chip pieces. So I'm just tapping them with the ink pad and giving them some color. I do want the grain of the wood to come through. I decided on sea glass for the hearts. Thought it would be a nice, because that piece that I have back there, I thought it would be a nice thing. Now you can use whatever you want to blend through your stencils. You can use a finger dauber. Now for me, an easier way to do this is with a blending tool. And yes, Tailored Expressions did suck me in with the colored handles. Absolutely they did. I do have the makeup brushes from Amazon, and they are wonderful and just as good. So, again, I got sucked in. Here it goes. Do you see what I didn't do? I'm still careful. The stars are covered. But the other side of my panel was not. So, the awesomeness of me needed to continue this. One of the things that will continue through, and if you've watched my videos throughout 2019, you always heard the phrase, let it go. You gotta let it go on this one and keep going. Don't throw your cards away. Don't start over. Don't get frustrated. Keep going. Everything is a piece of art. Everything we create, nobody is perfect. Everything is beautiful. Everything is unique. And everything you create is your own. Don't start over. Keep going. And I specifically kept me cleaning in my tray or my mat there to tell you all that. Just let it go and keep going. You never know what you get. So basically what I turned this into is a piece of wood. It's got wood with hearts coming up off of it. I mean, it looks like a piece of pattern paper. We're good. We are absolutely good. I'm going to take this blue cardstock that I'm using as a mat. I have another piece there. And I chose 3 of the small sentiments. Now, the sentiments that are in this stamp set are built upon the word love. The 2 love phrases there. So I chose "and hugs," "sent with," and "all you need is." So by taking those, embossing them in white, I'm using the hearts to represent the word love. All you need is love. It's sitting on top of a heart. And hugs, sitting on top of a heart. Hugs, or love and hugs. So the hearts are resembling that word, that addition, when it comes to the sentiment. I'm going to use my liquid adhesive to adhere down my wood pieces, and then I will use my liquid adhesive to adhere my strips. Now, and it's probably because the ink was not dry on those wood pieces yet. That's going to take a while, but this ink also takes a while to dry anyway, I'm just saying. Which is cool. So I used one of those heavy-duty acrylic blocks to set that on. They were actually, these pieces of cardstock were actually curling up off of the hearts. So I needed something flat with a lot of pressure. Now you can see I've got ink going on there. That's probably when I was going down onto the wood pieces. So yeah, really need to make sure that I clean my mat. I've got to remember to do this. I've had my glass mat for some time, and I absolutely love it. I use it all the time when I create offline. What was driving me crazy is the reflection that you're seeing in the video. I let it go, people. If you see my reflection, I can't help it. I wish he would make this in white or a light gray, because then the reflection wouldn't come through. I have another one that is gray, and I don't see my reflection if I film on it, but it's just so small. Anyway, back to the card. Okay, enough about that. So I took a piece of craft cardstock from my stash. It's cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I needed to find the center of this on the long side, and I'm taking this piece of scrap cardstock, and I'm just going to secure this in place, and I'm going to use the charcoal brown. You all thought the vintage photo, didn't you? Yes. No vintage photo here. But I'm using the charcoal brown, but it would have looked fine, by the way. Vintage photo would look great on this. I'm using my blending brush to go along this edge. I'm staying close to the edge, but allowing it to go off onto my craft cardstock. I'm then going to flip this and do this to the other side. but I want to make sure that that original point that I created stays intact. I don't want to lose that, especially after the debacle on the 4th card. So I'm now paranoid that I'm going to mess this up. So I'm okay. I'm staying in the areas in which I need to stay. And I'm just making sure that I'm not coming up onto the point that I already have established. I got a little concerned as I lifted up those green pieces of tape thinking, oh great, now I'm going to see those. But I do a little bit, but I'm okay with it. So we created the backside of an envelope, pretty much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the sentiment love. Now, it's the one that looks like the stamp. I could be aging myself here because I know it's an old stamp. Philadelphia also has the statue, the love statue, the famous love statue. At least we think it's famous. So that reminded me of a stamp. That's how this idea of mine came about. A stamp, envelope. Yep, that was the connection. It wasn't a far stretch, but that's where I was going. So I wanted the heart in that sentiment stamp to be the dark red. I was going to mask it off and just, no. So we're just going to come in with multiple layers of innocent pink, just to get that darker so that it blends up into the heart. I'm then going to come in with my mini pinking scissors by Fiskars. And I'm going to cut this down, and then I'll come in with those scissors just so that I can create that jagged edge to make it look like a stamp. I do not know, I haven't seen these scissors available anywhere for a while, but if I can find them, I'll link to them down below. But there are dies available that you could also use as well. I'm going to come in now with just the lipstick red on the outside just to give it some shading. And then I'm going to come in with a finger sponge dauber to go around with the charcoal brown, just to help give that a shadow in a way to come up off of the envelope a little bit. I'm also going to come in and use my double-sided foam squares to give that dimension, and I'm going to add one of those gold hearts in the center of that heart as well to make that stand out. Now, there's another sentiment. Now, you could leave it just the way that it is. I mean, it's different. I think it's cute. This is actually my favorite out of the 5. We all have our favorites. But then I grabbed the long sentiment strip, you more and more each day. So again, by having that stamp say love, it's going to come in and say love you more and more each day. But it's kind of separated. But it's different. You know, again, everything doesn't have to be matchy-matchy. You can give a subliminal message. That's kind of what I'm doing here, I guess. When I do stamp with my white embossing powder, or when I want to heat set with my white embossing powder, I do like to stamp with my Gina K white pigment ink. And you can see that ink was still a little bit damp. And also, I believe, I didn't prep it with my anti-static tool. So I'm just using a mop brush to clean off the excess. And I will use my heat tool to heat set that and melt that powder. I will set this down onto my standard A2 size card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And this will now become a side folding card. I do like to use my liquid adhesive, especially for this, instead of a tape runner, only because there was a lot of warping going on. And by using that, it was helped to flatten that out. So here are the cards that we made close up and in regular speed so that you can see all the details on them. So I do hope that you enjoyed the projects that I made today using the Pink and Main January 2020 Crafty Courtyard subscription box. And remember, the January theme is Love is in the Air. If you are interested in becoming a subscriber, all of the information and the links will be down below in my video description. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave those down below as well, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I want to thank you so much for stopping by. I am grateful that you took a little bit of time out of your day to watch this video. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe, so make sure you hit that button. Make sure you ring the bell, because then you'll know when the next video is live and available for you to watch. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day, but always remember what is absolutely most important for me. Always be creative.